Early last year, 38-year-old Isabelle Dinoir was admitted to hospital in the French town of Amiens. Isabelle had been mauled by her pet dog. Her nose, lips and chin had been completely torn away.
I fell down. Well, I must have done because I can't remember what happened. When I came to, there was blood on the ground. And I tried to get up, to stand up, but I couldn't manage it. I didn't realize the state I was in, only that I had blood on my arms. I tried to light a cigarette, but I never got it to light.
This woman turned up one day on a stretcher. It was 3 weeks since the accident. A dog bite that took off the lower half of her face. She had no longer any lips, nose or chin. It was all exposed. She had a loose bandage over it and a stomach tube feeding her. She couldn't take anything into her mouth.
With such severe injuries, Isabelle simply hid from the world.
Even in the corridor, the mask is always on. Even to go to the shower, it's on. The first time I went outside, in some ways, I was happy to go out, but in other ways, I was frightened to leave the hospital. At the start, I cried every time I went out. Some people don't say anything out of the ordinary. They say hello, they talk. Other people look and shrink back. In the shops, some people even hide out of the way.
Several weeks after being admitted, Isabelle came to the attention of specialist maxillofacial surgeon Dr. Bernard Devauchel.
Salut. Ça va? Le tricot va bien? C'est nouveau?
Using conventional surgery, doctors were limited in what they could do to reconstruct Isabelle's face. But Dr. Devauchel believed there was an alternative.
This type of tissue loss requires this type of treatment. Everything else is just a makeshift solution. There is no real alternative. And these things are lost very quickly. The best way, the only way to fix it, is with a face transplant.
Une transplantation faciale.
The only thing that came up for discussion was that maybe our idea was a bit crazy. Were we going to go all the way with this, since it was the first time this opportunity had arisen?
For the past 20 years, a handful of surgeons have been working to revolutionize transplant surgery. They've been fighting to convince the medical establishment and reassure the general public that face transplants are nothing to fear. In what became known as the face race, teams of doctors in America, Britain and France all declared themselves to be ready and waiting to perform the first operation. At the Royal Free in London, surgeon Peter Butler has dedicated his career to researching face transplantation.
Facial transplantation is not a new idea. We've known for some time that this is technically possible because we've been looking at this for 14 years experimentally, now nearly 6 years clinically. We've had a lot of ups and downs in the process. I still am convinced that this is a good thing to do. There are more people thinking the same way, and so for me that's heartening, because actually people have come around to thinking that this is actually a therapeutic possibility.
Doctors have been transplanting livers, kidneys and hearts for over 40 years. But faces have always been different. They are seen as a sacred and untouchable part of our identity. Unlike other organs, face transplants are not life-saving operations. As a result, ethical committees have always blocked them from going ahead.
20 years ago, a professor of plastic surgery mentioned this at a presentation and caused outcry, as in he felt it was a very logical thing to do. He went on Reuters and news agencies and whatever. He got hate mail. A lot of the profession were very doubtful about this as a reconstructive technique.
While the rest of the world was forced to wait, in France, surgeons Bernard de Vauchel and Sylvie Testelin believed that in Isabelle they had a unique case, worthy of ethical approval.
The biggest problem was not one of surgical technique. The biggest problem was putting our case forward to the authorities. Therefore, we had to fight to put forward a project that would be acceptable to them.
We want to do the best for the patient. Do we have the right to take risks on her behalf? That's what's complicated. We ask ourselves, what is the best?
Convinced they would get the go-ahead, Testelin and de Vauchel assembled a team of specialists including world-famous transplant surgeon Jean-Michel Dubénard. Dubénard and his team were already medical pioneers, having performed the first hand transplant.
Once I had seen her disfigured face, no more needed to be said. I was convinced something had to be done for this patient.
While Isabelle waited for permission for her transplant, doctors were worried that her condition was deteriorating. Her muscles had slowly tightened, making it difficult for her to open her mouth more than a few millimeters.
At the start, I couldn't eat anything except mashed food because I couldn't open my mouth anymore. There was just enough room to get a small spoon in. Whatever happens, it's a battle. I've made my choice. Even if I wanted it to, the part that's missing would never come back.
While Isabelle waited, doctors conducted extensive scientific tests to see how her brain might function after her transplant.
She's seen that there's still a little area in her brain which used to make her lips move. But her lips just won't move. Yet she knows there's something going bang bang in her head. She feels her lips move when she does her exercises.
MRI scans showed that even though her lips were missing, the part of her brain controlling them was still active, which should allow her to control the muscles of a new face. With daily physiotherapy to prevent her condition from deteriorating too far, all Isabelle could do was wait. If successful, Isabel's operation could provide new hope to hundreds of people around the world living with the consequences of severe facial injury.
"5:15 sharp, I leave work." I didn't know what was going to happen the next, God knows, 5 minutes.
In February 2005, Sundi Punjan was 22 years old and looking forward to her wedding day. She was on her way home from work when, in a completely unprovoked attack, she had acid thrown in her face.
That day was nothing compared to painful days that were waiting ahead. It was really, really horrible after that, because at that point I had all my skin on me, but it turned like dark brown, like chocolate brown, and then it was like all over, like the face, everything, the arms, the nails turned yellow.
I went to the Falklands. I was with the 1st Battalion Welsh Guards. I was in the mortar platoon. We were on board a ship called the RFA Sir Galahad.
Simon Weston was just 20 years old when his troop ship was struck by Argentine missiles.
Well, I was 49% burns, most of it full thickness over the body.
Leave! No! Quiet, lad, but just one move, go. Beautiful.
My heart stopped beating twice, apparently, so I'm told. Not that I was around for most of this, I've got to be honest about that.
As the wounds heal, or the open scars were healing, that's where now skin started like contracting, and that's when you notice, oh, my arm is tight, I can't, like your arm's bent and you can't straighten it, you know, like it's all tight, and your face is like turning, you can't really open, smile or do all the things you could. Then I notice, oh, my eyes don't shut properly. Just in days, things started getting worse, and it was really bad.
I had the best part of 5 years in and out of hospital, the majority of it in.
You've got a petrified wound.
Oh, you know?
Yeah, I'm petrified of wound.
Well, I think that's a very reasonable fear, but I don't think that there's any real danger of it.
It was a very lonely and depressing and isolated state. I became very seriously involved in drink. I had post-traumatic stress disorder, which I didn't realise. But on top of that then came the depression and then suicidal tendencies and thoughts, up to the point where I almost took my own life.
I wish I could just close my eyes now, get up in the morning, and as soon as I get up I want to see my face in the mirror and I look like I was before. And I don't want to see any patchwork on my face. I don't want to see any, mark on me. I just want to look like I was and say, I'm ready to go home and go on with life. But